Hey guys, Art13131, and with a late edition here, it's week 3. We are still in week 3, and we're going to talk about assignment number 6, which is crumpled paper. So what you're doing here is you're learning how to shade different subject matter, different textures. Okay, and that's what was going on with the number 5, hand and covered in plastic wrap. The number 3, kitchen items, still life, and even the shoe and the feet. So we're learning to shade to create shape. You're learning to shade with great contrast of light and dark tones to create shape, so that you have a drawing that is showing shape, a three-dimensional appearance on your two-dimensional plane, which is your paper. You get that accomplished by showing the light source shining on your subject. So there will be light areas and dark areas because your subject matter is either rounded or sharp edged, and so you're going to have different ways tone is exhibiting that shape. By the light and dark tones you're going to shade in, they show where the light is shining and where it isn't, where the light is hitting and where the shadow areas are. Same with the crumpled paper. I'll show you some examples of crumpled paper now that students did, actually. And as you can see, there's a level, maybe 5, 6, 7 different levels of shading tones in the crumpled paper. Now, you take some paper without lines on it, like printing paper or any other paper, crumple it up in your hands to it's like a ball, and then maybe pull it out a little so that you'll have something like this on the table in front of you. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. You certainly don't want it just crumpled and laying like a flat piece of paper or something that was crumpled as flat paper, because it's not going to have all the folds and crevices that this does. So you're looking for all these deep crevices, oh my God, and all the folds and different areas in here that light is shining on and where light is not shining on. So there's a shadow area. Some are very dark and some are very light, and some are in between tones. We call them midtones. Also, there's a cast shadow on the table. That's what this is. So the light is coming from the right side, and there's a cast shadow on the left side. Here's another example of it. Coming kind of from the top, but you still have all these cast shadows on both sides, kind of around the front of this crumpled paper. But the paper isn't so tight that it's you're not seeing all the crevices and all the folds, or the dips and turns and hidden parts, shadow areas. That's going to be created by the paper being crumpled and then maybe pulled out slightly. So, it's about the size maybe of a grapefruit or an orange or something on the table. And then you're going to see all the tone changes within the dips and turns and folds and crevices. Okay? And I imagine there's at least 5 to 7 different tone changes from light to dark in here. And that's what you got to look at and notice and be aware of, so that you can draw them in by shading lighter, maybe a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, into the very dark areas. So between the very lightest and the very darkest, figure out where those areas are. Put them in by leaving the lightest areas void of any tone. And then the darkest, of course, you're pressing very hard on your pencil to get that dark tone. And then you have all the in-between tones, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas where you have from light to dark, you have maybe 7 levels of different tones. But you're going to take this paper, crumple it up in your hands, pull it out slightly, put it on the table with a single light source. And I say single light source 10, 20 times because that's what you need to have to show all the shadow areas and all the light areas without various light shining on your subject. Because it's going to be a stronger drawing that way when you do that. And then when you tone those in with your shading tones, pressing light or pressing a little harder, and very hard for the dark, light for the light, it's all the pressure you're putting in on the side of the pencil. You're using the side of the pencil for all these tones. Yes, you will make a gesture drawing of your subject matter, which is this crumpled paper, but only a gesture drawing. It's really not outlines of lines inside of here. It's only shading areas that meet up with other shaded areas that show a light area meeting a slightly shaded or a darker area, and they sort of just meet up. And they're without a line. You don't need a line because this area is a darker tone than this area, and it'll make its own perceived edge or border or line. Without making a line, you don't need a line. And when you look at your subject matter on the table, you're not going to see any lines. There's no line around the paper. It's just that the paper ends and the background begins. And so you shade that to the end. You don't need a line. So the lines are inaccurate. They're really not there. Study it and tell me I'm wrong. Study it. There's no lines. But you're going to make a gesture drawing of this very faintly and then start putting on all the shading. And that's going to get rid of some of the lines. Maybe there's a few, but not many, okay? All right. So also now we have the homework, which is a drawing of life, and then same drawing with your eyes closed, meaning you're going to draw anything. And I want shading, just like we've been talking with everything. Shade whatever you see by what you are looking at. The lights and darks show it. Something in front of you that you're going to put anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever you choose, draw it with your eyes open. By the time you get done drawing that, on the same page if you want next to it, close your eyes and draw it as you perceive it or what you were looking at the best you can without opening your eyes. Don't peek, don't cheat. And it's an experiment, and we'll see how that turns out. It can be very interesting. It's an experiment. So there's 2 drawings in the homework. One, you're looking at it and drawing it, and one, you're not looking at it, you're closed your eyes, but you're drawing what you have been looking at next to it, okay? So that's 2 drawings. All right, so we'll talk with you next week. If you haven't sent me stuff from week 1 and week 2, that's due this week. So by the end of week 3, which is Sunday, you should have sent me week 2 and week 1, all that work, so that I can start looking at it, critiquing it, and sending it back if I want you to do more for a better grade. All right. Thank you.